Hi, welcome to TNT. Today we're talking bridges. Could be a bridge too far, bridge over troubled waters, bridge over all sorts of things. Mostly we're talking about major infrastructure projects that have been promised to Thailand, things we've heard about in the past. They come and some sort of examination or investigation's done, money's thrown at it, and then we don't hear anything for a couple of years and then they resurface. Well, here are a few of the major projects, 4 of them specifically, that are being planned for Thailand, and we cover areas like the bridge to Koh Chang, infrastructure big ones in Phuket, also for Samui, and the very famous or almost infamous land bridge. Let's check them out. Now we'll start in Phuket with 2 major projects, one of which we've heard about for some 30 years. It involves an expressway all the way from the airport down to the tourist town of PHANG, which is sort of the busiest tourist town on the island. We can't deny it. Now the first is one called the PHANG Tunnel. We've heard about this for a long time, and instead of winding up over Patong Hill all the way up and then all the way down, a scene of many crashes, even part of the road vanished a couple of years ago, was washed away, took them 6 months to repair, but they've been talking about putting a tunnel through Patong Hill for years. Not only a tunnel, but an expressway, and that's about 2 kilometres of a 35-kilometre project. The other part, announced by the Expressway Authority of Thailand, is the expressway, which would go sort of parallel to the current Thep Kasat 3 road, which is the major north to south thoroughfare for the island. Been very congested, and over the past years it's gone from impossible to intolerable. But the expressway, which would be some 33 kilometres, would link the airport to Katu. Now most of the stumbling blocks have been having to buy up land and also organising who's going to pay for it. But it looks like this is going to be signed off sometime during the second half of this year. So maybe at long last we're going to see the Patong Tunnel and the expressway from the airport to Katu finally happening. For the second part, we head over to the Gulf of Thailand and to the second largest island called Koh Samui, and linking Koh Samui with the mainland. And this involves a 30-kilometre elevated bridge which would go from Koh Samui to either Donsak or to Kanom. So they haven't decided which of those locations are going to get the green light. Obviously there's a lot of work that needs to be done whichever case they decide. My tip is, because the ferry has been leaving from Donsak for years and years, they've got the infrastructure there to cope with a crossing, and I'd say that it's very likely that it would be Donsak, but that decision hasn't been made as yet. All right, let's head to Koh Chang. And according to iamkochang.com, looks like they've decided on the route for the bridge that would link the Thai mainland to the increasingly popular Koh Chang. And they're talking about a 5.6 kilometre bridge, and it would land somewhere between the old Centrepoint Ferry Pier and the Amber Sands Beach Resort. Now, according to locals, it looks like whilst they've decided the start and end point, the final decision on building this particular bridge has not been made, although it looks like the decision for funding will be made before the end of this year. Again, nothing concrete, but this is the latest information we have. And finally, what really has been a bridge over troubled waters over the years, a project that's existed in different forms, initially as a canal that would be, cut straight through the middle of the Isthmus of Kra, and that's basically the northern part of the Malay Peninsula that passes through Thailand, and it would allow ships to go from the Andaman Sea into the Gulf of Thailand, avoiding Singapore altogether and cutting a couple of days. But over the past couple of years, another project sort of doing the same thing but on land instead. So the boats would unload all their containers at one side. They'd then be carried across the peninsula of Thailand to the other side in Chumpon, and then they'd be loaded onto another ship and they'd continue. Now, somehow somebody thinks that's a better idea than digging a canal, but it looks like the land bridge is finally gaining some traction, and the government, specifically via the Transport Minister, are saying they're now getting quite a lot of interest from countries like China and other countries in the Middle East to build this particular land bridge. Particularly China and the Middle East would be big beneficiaries if this land bridge was built. Now, for their part, the government says it is still going ahead. This is still the country's number one flagship infrastructure project, and they're setting up a Southern Special Economic Development Zone, a bit similar to the EEC, which is the eastern area of Bangkok, to allow for foreign investment to operate in that area. So the land bridge project continues to breathe, along with the bridge to Koh Chang, that bridge from Samui to the mainland, as well as that huge infrastructure project in Phuket, which is probably only playing catch-up. And despite the government saying it will solve the infrastructure and the traffic problems, well, it may for a couple of years, but certainly the project is probably 10 or 15 years too late. But when it's built, it will link the airport with an expressway and a tunnel from the airport to Patong. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to doing another update soon.